What up, what up? Episode 92, listeners. How you all doing? BNOS, business news, other shit. We in the back stock room of Cedar's. Rockin' Out. Guys, we have Dr. Bal Nandra on the episode today. One of my friends. Been a long time since I've seen Bal. We also had Lancey Joe, comedian. Check him out at Chicago Joe's Fridays and Thursdays. Thursdays and Fridays, 8 p.m. at Chicago Joe's and his comedy show. This Dr. Bal is a serial entrepreneur. He's also an anesthesiologist. So this guy is always running some kind of business. Right now, he's a ketamine pro. This guy's running a ketamine shop out of River North. Supposedly, this is what he says. It was hard to believe, but I think it's true. With just one ketamine session, a person can be lifted out of their depression and anxiety. And this is for people who have really debilitating depression and anxiety. So it's powerful stuff. Dr. Bal talked about his first venture, his first entrepreneurial adventure, which was owning a company called Haute Auto in River North, where they would deck out Pimp-My-Ride kind of stuff. That's the business he owned. It failed miserably. And he talks about that and what he learned from that and how much he lost. He talked about MJ coming in there and becoming friends with him and buying some stuff from him. Or not buying some stuff from him. Yeah, make sure you listen in and learn a little about MJ. Bal talked about nurturing relationships and how important that is, yo. He's saying like even 20 years later, some of his relationships are coming back full circle. Yeah, so then he jumped into talking about how ketamine is a substance that's regulated, but that some of these other unregulated substances like, I forgot, basically magic mushrooms. He called it silo something. And he's basically saying how those are also being investigated as possible ways to help people heal in their depression and other mental issues. Anyway, you're about to learn a whole lot about psychedelics from a pro. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. Peace! Lancey, do you know what you're eating? Lancey, by the way, Bal, do you know that documentary Game Changers?
Yes.
I figure a doctor like yourself will probably hear about that and know about that. Lancey,
I haven't watched it though.
I haven't watched it either. My wife's a huge fan.
Yeah.
But Lancey, you watched it, right?
I did.
And it had an impact on you?
It did.
Did it change your game?
It totally changed every game. From there on out, games have been different.
Well,
I didn't even watch the NFL playoffs.
Okay, how did it change your game?
Well, I think that most people would agree, and correct me if I'm wrong, as you're a doctor, but most people would agree that limiting your intake of meat is usually a good health option. And this Game Changers thing, it didn't make me. We got signal delay on the CTA over here.
Yeah.
I think Siri's yelling at John about something.
The Apple is quitting on us. So.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, Apple has some problem with me.
Did I say something wrong about meat?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Apple's like, I'm out of this.
Just can't talk about meat ever on air.
That's a trigger word for
Siri. I'm a carnivore, so that's going to be a problem.
I eat only ass. So, yeah.
That's the...
is that vegan, though? I mean, it could be.
It's true.
I mean, I guess it depends on what that person ate.
That's true.
If you really want to get technical.
Yeah.
But...
did you see where Apple won't allow bad guys in movies to use iPhones?
Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, we got to go all in airplane mode here, please. So they won't let them use iPhones, is that right? Good. Yeah, that's a really smart advertising requirement.
Yeah. Although, in real life, bad guys are definitely using iPhones.
For sure. More than anyone else.
Yes.
They're hacking them and cracking them.
Oh, yes, for sure.
All right, so change your game. So eating less meat in general, you're saying, is a healthy thing. Would you agree with that, Dr. Nandra? Listeners, we got Bal, Dr. Bal Nandra, ketamine, gangsta.
Ketamine God.
Ketamine God of Chicago. All right, yeah. What do you think about the meat situation? Do you have an opinion?
Well, yeah, I have an opinion on everything. I think in moderation and in healthy amounts, meat is absolutely fine, and it does convey benefits. I don't think there's any particular compelling reason to completely eliminate meat from your diet. And being vegan doesn't always translate into being quote unquote healthy. Okay. Vegan diet for a lot of people, not everybody, because you're obviously eating healthy right now in front of me. But for a lot of people, it just means you eat a shitload of carbs,
right,
and starches and all these other things that are not ultimately good for you and can really throw your glucose homeostasis into a whack and, cause issues with a lot of things. So, I think a balanced diet at the end of the day is probably the best thing for everybody. Obviously people, become vegan for many reasons, right? Animal activists, health, or just because they want to try it, and it'll change, or sometimes people have illnesses where they think that might help too. And that's totally fine. But I think it's about moderation.
Yeah. And really the reason I did it and what Game Changers, it wasn't the reason. When I watched Game Changers, I was not like, I'm becoming vegan because of this movie. I feel like it was just, I wanted to see if I could do it. Just the challenge of it mainly. That was the big thing.
Test yourself.
Yeah. And then secondly, health benefits. Thirdly, animal things. Yep. Fourthly, Earth, the earth.
Yes.
Nice. So it's cheap.
Oh.
Cheap.
You're doing acronym right
EAP. Yeah.
I'm
cheap.
just catching up to you. You're moving fast for me, Lancey.
Right. Challenge, health benefits,
Earth.
Animal.
CHE, Earth.
Oh, Earth.
Animal. What's P?
And what's P?
Psychic abilities.
Psychic abilities.
Are you for real?
I knew you were going to say that.
What?
Psychic.
He knew I was going to say that because he's psychic.
Right.
No, but for real? Like P is psychic abilities?
Well, some people on YouTube, mind you, claim that you will, once you cleanse your body of these negative energies that come out of meat, that
you become clairvoyant.
Maybe something like that. Maybe you're more in tune with the universe.
Yeah, I kind of believe that. Baal, do you?
Perhaps.
This is a spiritual question, I would
Perhaps. I mean, I don't think it's a direct pathway to,
Nirvana?
Becoming, nirvana or whatever you want to call it, salvation.
Right.
But I do think that what you eat in general affects your brain, right? So, if we eat healthy and again, balanced diet, whatever, we think better, we think clearer. It's all about health at the end of the day, I think, and brain health. I don't think meats slow you down, but again, in moderation, I think it's okay.
A spiritual guide I follow once said, all blessings come from the food you eat and the company you keep. It really spoke to me.
Nice.
It feels very true to what you're saying about.
I can live with that.
Right?
Yeah.
Lancey, let's do a little Cedar's plug.
Yes.
Do you know what you're eating?
Hummus with corn, and this is yams here.
Mango.
Mango. Wow.
Yeah. It's a regular hummus with on top of it roasted corn and jalapeno, and then in the middle something called a mango amba, which is an Iraqi spread or dip that they put on various things, and it's mangoes kind of roasted with onions, salt, pepper.
It's excellent.
I'm going to take that home in 44 minutes when my intermittent fast ends. FYI.
Boom. Well, what's up, y'all? We got Baal.
What's up? We
got Lancey.
Hey.
We got Doler.
Hello.
We got Chef's Hummus.
So
Little
good.
Cedar's plug. Y'all need to make sure you come in here one day and visit us. Say what's up. If you see me, grab me. Say what's up.
It smells delicious.
Ask me for some free dessert.
Yeah, if you're in the Chicago Loop, you can take that 6 bus down here. It's so easy.
Boom.
So
Lancey
easy.
Just did it.
I did my anesthesia and critical care residency at the University of Chicago down here in Hyde Park. So
Hyde
and
Park.
that was.
Did you live here?
No, I live downtown, but that was 24 years ago.
Wow.
So, and I don't come down here much anymore, obviously, because, I typically don't have any friends down here. I just don't come down here much. So every time I do come down here, it's got a combination of like, wow, the neighborhood's changed, and then a little bit of PTSD.
Oh, really?
Because We used to have to wake up at 4 a.m, be here by 5:15, and did that for 3 years, and then long hours, and heavy, really tough training, and then drive back home and repeat, for 3 years. So it was tough, but it's a beautiful drive.
One of my
going
friends,
either way. That was the one nice thing about it is
Lakeshore Drive.
Driving down here in the mornings was beautiful, and driving home in the evenings was even more beautiful, and that was always kind of like the kind of nice way to begin and end your day.
Totally.
But I still get PTSD.
One of my friends is doing it right now. A dear friend of mine named Jihad is in his first year of his anesthesiology residency. And so he's doing it, baby. And it's hard. He tells me it's friggin',
It can be brutal.
It's killing him, yeah.
It can be brutal.
Well, it's great to have you on, Lancey, my main man. Let's plug you guys right away, and we'll plug you at the end too. So Bal, Dr.
Yes.
Nandra, this is new for me because you've been a friend of mine for 7, 8, 9 years.
Yeah.
But I've kind of got disconnected from you the last few years since I moved back from Toronto.
Yeah.
So this is a beautiful reconnection. But you're doing ketamine stuff now, which I don't know what that means, brother. We're about to learn. But what I remember about you, man, is you were always doing something.
Yeah.
You were always entrepreneurial. So you are like the perfect person to talk to about business stuff, So that's what I remember about you, Bal, as being a serial entrepreneur. So that's still the case, it feels like, with this ketamine business.
It is still the case, yes.
Right?
Yes. So I started the ketamine clinic, I would call the IV Solution.
What's the website?
www.ketaminechicago.com. So
Ketamine Chicago.
Ketamine Chicago.com. So I opened this clinic it's been about 3.5 years now. And it's been like probably one of the most amazing journeys of my life, of all the entrepreneurial things I've done. And I still do. I still practice anesthesia full time. I still have my other couple of healthcare companies. So a lot of stuff is going on, but it's probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done, hands down.
That's nice.
Because it's amazing to affect people's lives in a matter of hours to days after they've struggled for a lifetime from, horrible depression, suicidality, PTSD, anxiety, OCD, and even chronic pain. And it's really just been amazing.
I mean, I've heard, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard, I don't know if it's through research on your website or where, but sometimes just one ketamine session can help a person struggling with depression or anxiety and reduce the symptoms like almost 100%.
It happens quite often.
Wow.
I would say it happens. That one infusion, one treatment scenario probably happens almost half of the time. And if it's not one, the other half will respond within 2 or 3. I mean, so it's really, really amazing. And you honestly, it's mind-blowing because you'll see a person on the consultation and their first treatment, and you'll be like, wow, how can I possibly even imagine that we can help this person? They've been homebound for 30 years. They're suicidal thoughts multiple times a day. They've tried 15 or a dozen medications over the years. Nothing's worked. And they walk in after that first treatment for their second treatment, and sometimes you barely recognize them. It's like, is this your twin? You just walked in here? Because it's really remarkable how they change. So they look different, they're acting different, they're smiling, and then from there on out, it just gets better and better. It's really amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We're going to get to a lot more of that and just learn about you and that ketamine process and all the entrepreneurial stuff. Lancey, what's up, my man?
Hey, man.
You're now producing multiple shows a week, brother.
I am.
Since our last time you've been on the show.
I am.
Tell us.
I guess that was a setup. So still Chicago Joe's.
That's right, baby.
Thursday and Friday night.
2 nights.
Chicago Joe's Comedy Tub, Chicago Joe's Irving Park, Western.
Yep.
Then I'm helping Lily. Lily produces a show Saturday nights at Annoyance Theater.
Okay.
At 9:30.
9:30 p.m. on Saturday.
Night. Yeah, and it's a real hot show. It's great.
Nice.
It's really
you're rocking Thursday, Friday, Saturday night right now.
Right. And then we're doing a few one-offs here and there, like Project Pilot Brewing.
Okay.
That'll be a Sunday coming up.
Is that the name of the show?
That's the name of it's a brewery. You know how the breweries have like a tap room where they kind of show off their beers and stuff. So Pilot Project Brewing. It's a really cool place if y'all want to stop by there just anytime, regardless of comedy. And then let's see, George Street Pub.
Okay.
On Tuesday nights.
Are you producing that sometimes?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Every week, 7 p.m.
Look at
Tuesday.
you, baby. 2020. New year, new me.
It's time.
New year, new Lancey.
Yes. I've got all this energy from being a vegan that I don't know what to do with it.
Nice plug.
And then I'm running an open mic over there, which is a great open mic.
George Street?
No, at Corcoran's.
Okay.
Corcoran's, which is across the street from Second City.
Yeah, Old Town.
Across Wells. Yes. Cool bar. Again, if y'all just want to go in there and hang out. But that's on Wednesday nights at 8:30.
Nice. That's new. That's a new mic.
Yeah, that's fairly new. Yeah.
Cool.
So
You're there every Wednesday?
Yeah,
Wednesday night?
every
8:30?
Wednesday, yeah.
Cool.
And come hang out. It's fun. It's free.
Bob, I got to tell you, bro, you got to check out, if you want to watch some comedy, independent, free comedy in the city of Chicago, I can't find anything better than the Comedy Tub, the one he runs
Comedy
on
Tub.
Thursday night and Friday night.
Got it.
Comedy Tub at Chicago Joe's. Strongly recommended.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amr. And Amr is not only a client, but he also a performer on there.
That's right.
Just like the hair club.
Yeah, that guy.
Although he just passed away.
Yeah.
So
Did he really?
yeah, like last week.
The Rogaine guy? Or no, what's
Hair Club for Men guy.
Hair Club for Men.
I mean, I think we all know his name. Actually, he was that well known, right?
Right.
I forget.
I forget.
I just
I mean,
remember.
but yeah, you.
I just remember the slogan.
It's all good.
I'm on airplane mode. So.
I guess he was like 78, but when he passed away, people swore he was 75.
So it worked.
With hair.
Yeah.
With hair. With hair.
Best.
Apparently, a funny thing. So when he first launched Hair Club for Men, it wasn't really that successful for a few years. It wasn't until he started advertising on TV that not only am I the founder or the owner, but I'm also a client. It was that line that shot him into fame, and actually people they caught on to that.
You know, I
So
love
it's
that.
interesting.
I love that.
Yeah, it's
because we can relate to it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, my chef, I have this wonderful story. So they just recently wrote up an article on him in the local paper.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Chef Amado Lopez. And there's this line in there. So he has this great story. I got to share this story with you guys. All right, his name is Chef Amado Lopez. And it reminds me of the Hair Club for Men guy. I'll show you why. I'll show you how in a minute. He went to CPS schools back in the day as a high school kid, and he wanted to become a chef. And one day his school was lucky enough to go to Charlie Trotter's restaurant. Do you remember Trotter?
Oh yeah,
Right, the big
100%.
Charlie Trotter.
I've been there.
You've been there
Yep.
back in the day.
Back in
Okay,
the day, yeah.
So I mean, that was the big wigs, people dropping some serious
that was
cash,
the
right?
joint, yeah.
That was the place to go.
Yeah.
So Charlie would sometimes bring in CPS kids.
I knew that too.
You did
I knew
before the
that
dinner
too,
rush.
100%.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like to keep him humble or what, but he'd bring him in, feed him for free before the dinner rush, before all the big money people would come in. And one day, one kid walks up to Charlie, right? He goes up to the big dog. You got to picture this in that room. Charlie's kind of probably to these kids kind of like a king or like a god almost,
Mm-hmm.
This kid walks up to him. A kid walks up and says, "Sir, if you ever need anyone to wash your pots and pans, I'm your guy." Charlie hits up his school shortly thereafter and says, "I want to hire that kid." And that's Chef Amado Lopez, a chef that works with us here at Cedars.
That's amazing.
And within a few months, he's breaking down boxes and bringing in the produce and washing the dishes. And then after about a year, he puts him on the line as a line cook. And then a year after that, Charlie calls him into his office and he's like, "Hey kid, do you want to go to college?" And Chef Amado's like, "Well, yeah, I was thinking of applying to one of these."
So this is all when he was in high school.
No, so now it's
So now
he's probably 1 year out.
He's 1 year out.
Yeah,
Got
probably
it.
1 or 2 years out. And he's like, "Well, yeah, I was thinking of actually going to like, Daly or somewhere, local place applying." He's like, No. You can only go to the best. He's like, "Well, I can't afford, He's like, "Well, you're going to the Culinary Institute of America in New York City." Wow. And Amato's like, "I can't afford that, sir." He's like, "I'm going to pay your way."
No way.
Charlie pays his whole way for school.
Get out of here.
That's not cheap
That's
in New York
amazing.
City. And that launched Amato's career in a serious way. And so I relate to that story. I get inspired by that story and I relate to it and I like to tell it. It's kind of like the Hair Club for Men guy.
Mm-hmm.
We can put ourselves in those shoes, you know, we can kind of see ourselves in that spot. I've kind of been in that spot where I'm just like looking at someone with power and I'm like, yo, if you can help me, man, I'm your guy. You know, and I feel like the Hair Club for Men guy is like not making money. He's on TV and he's like, yo, I'm even a client of this. That's how much I believe in this thing. That's how much I believe in myself. I'm a client.
Yeah.
And I feel like Amato's like, I believe in myself. Let me wash pots and pans and I'll show you where I can work up to, you know?
That's great. I love that story.
Well, success is also, you know, it's really important to leverage relationships and nurture relationships, you know, because you never know where they're going to take you. And that's one thing I've learned over my years, you know, that God only knows how many companies I've had, you know, some that have failed, some that have been successful. And that's always a thing that's kind of come full circle is relationships. And in my most successful ventures, it's like relationships from, you know, a dozen years ago or 20 years ago that I completely lost touch with all of a sudden now front and center in my businesses and in my companies. And it's really amazing to watch this full circle stuff come around.
So you say that's why it's important to nurture relationships. You never know. But in the same breath, you said people I haven't talked to in 20 years suddenly comes full circle. So what does nurturing a relationship mean over decades, like over 2-3 decades? Like the guy who's coming full circle.
I always try to keep in touch with people, even if it's a text, a call once a year, you know, people who are, you know, influencers or, you know, in my life, you know, who I feel important in my life have guided me. So I think that's always important. And one of my number one rules in business is just never burn a bridge. You know, that's really, and that's again one of these reasons why all these relationships have come around full circle over the years. Is I don't get, you know, vindictive because let's face it, we've all been screwed. Okay, everybody's been fucked. I've been fucked a lot, and in business and you name it. But you know, sometimes the best thing is just to walk away. Retaliation isn't always beneficial.
I had this situation at the restaurant recently, and I talked to a friend about it afterwards, and he gave me some advice. I'll see what you guys think. It's exactly in this vein, Bal. So we changed the menu a month ago. This menu for Cedars hadn't been changed in over a decade. All right. And people got used to it. Customers got used to it. And I honestly felt like it wasn't the optimal customer base that was going to allow this business to thrive because they were kind of, in some ways, gaming the menu, gaming the system, finding the lowest cost things with the highest amount of protein and free soup, free salad. I'm like, you know what? Enough with this. You know, with every entree, you get a free soup, you get a free salad, you get this, you get that. I'm like, let's just make some really good stuff and we, you know, reduce the menu instead of trying to be someone for everyone. We can't do that. We reduced the menu. And so initially a lot of the customers were not happy. And they're just like, I don't like this. And they would just walk out. I'd be like, okay, I get it. You know, this might not be the best place for you anymore. And some customers are like, oh, new? Yeah, new ain't easy, but let's do it, baby. Let's keep changing. I'm like, yeah, that's my kind of people, you know? One party came in and I sat down with them and I'm like, it was like a party of 4. It was like an older woman, probably in her 60s, and 2 of her daughters who were in their 30s or 40s, and then a couple grandkids. And I go to this woman, how's everything tasting? And she's like chowing down, you know? And she's like, this ain't real Middle Eastern food. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, we're definitely trying to do some twists here. So, you know, we feel like our foundation is real. We haven't changed our hummus. We haven't changed our falafel. We haven't changed our shawarma or our lentil soup. But yeah, we're doing some twists. It's, you know, Middle Eastern food's kind of been around for 20, 30 years in America. It's time for a twist. And she's like, I lived in Israel. I lived in the Middle East. This is not real. I ate real food. And her daughters are kind of like, yeah, she's right, but it's okay, Mom, chill out. And the mom's like, no, he needs to hear this. All you care about is money. That's all you care about. Looks me dead in the eye. I'm like, damn. I'm like, well, yeah, money's important, but that's not all I care about. You know, like, I hope not. And she's like, I lived in the Middle East. I know what real food is. I believe in that. And I'm like, are you okay? And her eyes start bulging out and she looks me dead in the eye. She's like, Benjamin Netanyahu.
Wow.
And I'm like,
that's intense.
Is this like the Arab form of thinner?
Thinner?
Yeah.
What's that, a movie?
Yeah, it's a movie where like a gypsy puts a curse on this fat guy.
That's exactly. I felt like she was trying to curse me with her eyes. I really felt that. And I was like, ma'am, I hope you enjoy your food. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate your business. And I just got up and walked away. Her daughters, I would have expected them to like chill out. Yeah. So afterwards, I go to my friend. I'm like, dude, that is not cool. Like, this lady's coming into our business, saying these things, basically like politically threatening me, I think. I don't know what the hell she was doing with that, you know? Yeah. And I'm like, next time I'm just going to ask people, thank you. No check. You don't have to pay for anything. Just leave. The door's right there. And he's like, I don't think you need to do that. He's like, it's your business. It's your place. The woman seems like she's in a tough place, maybe miserable.
Yeah.
Let her be in her place. Like, let her be in her miserable place, in her miserable life. And, maybe you don't need to respond to her. Because if you do respond and you say, there's the door, and she puts a negative review on Yelp or somewhere on Google, now you have to respond as a business owner. Oh, but she said Benjamin Netanyahu. And now you're in an online spat. Yeah. And all these other customers are looking at this like, why is this guy in the spat?
And those are never good.
That's never good, right? Mm-hmm. He's like, you're trying to run a business. You're trying to help your employees pay for their family's meals and food and clothing. You're trying to pay for your own family's meals and food and clothing. He's like, let her be in her friggin' place. Let her say her shit. Walk away. Okay, got it. That's how you feel about life? Great. Mm-hmm. Goodbye. Enjoy your meal. And I was like, you know what? He's right. Why put everyone's livelihood at risk and reduce our revenue possibly by her? Or worse, she could if I told her to leave in the restaurant, she could actually create a scene.
Yeah.
And that's the worst thing, right? Because now all the guests in the restaurant are like, this place is not safe. Let's not come here again because apparently fights break out.
Right. It's like United Airlines dragging the guy off the plane.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Exactly.
So, so I had a thinner moment in Cedars.
Did she ever come back?
I hope not.
Yeah.
I haven't seen her.
Yeah.
I don't know where she is. It's probably in some basement, like with a
It's impossible to please everybody all the time, but that's really all it comes down to. I mean, people are always going to find something to bitch about, complain about. And, you just have to be diplomatic and deal with it the best way you can. That doesn't mean you have to give it away.
Give what away?
The service for free.
Okay, true. Yeah.
But you humbly apologize and wish them a better experience next time and call it a day.
All right. So, question for you. You said you've had success in some of your businesses. You also failed.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with one of the biggest failures you've ever had that really had you spooked out. Have you been in that situation where you had to rethink it all?
Oh, 100%. 100%. So this is way off.
Early days?
Way off career. So when I was, 2000, early 2000s, 2004, 2005, I just finished up my residency, just started practicing. And
like what, hospital kind of thing?
Yeah, in a hospital. And I decided, you know what? I'm gonna open up a custom car shop. Which is obviously I'm a doctor. So but this was
like tints.
This was back in the day. This was back in the day and probably
maybe
Dr. Ball's ballin' tints.
It was called, yeah, that's right. It was back in the day of, Pimp-My-Ride and all these shows.
Right.
And when it was kind of an emerging sector in the auto industry, auto customization and tuning and all this kind of stuff. So and I ran into a guy who was really pretty well versed in this stuff and knew this stuff. So we set up shop right downtown on Ontario.
Just to get clear, it's the tints, the rims, the Rockford Fosgate, the subwoofers,
some performance stuff, and high end cars. Like we were definitely catering to professional athletes, guys in the BOT.
What's the BOT?
The Board of Trade.
Okay.
Celebrities and the kind of stuff like
people
that.
Who have
a little bit of everybody, but those are definitely, that's who you want in that industry.
People ready to drop 25 grand.
Yeah, or more on a car. So we did that. And
what was it called?
It was called Haute, Haute, or Haute Auto.
Yeah.
And it was right on the corner of Ontario and LaSalle, where I think right now is the Infinity store or something.
Yeah,
like that. I don't know what's there now, but it was right there. So it was a high profile place, and I mean, don't get me wrong. It was fun, really fun. I met a lot of amazing people and did a lot of cool stuff. And obviously, I really enjoyed the stuff that we did. But, financially, it tanked in about, I don't know, less than 2 years.
Oh, that's actually pretty good.
Well, yeah, it's actually pretty good, but it was a big tank.
For a trendy thing like that.
It was a huge tank. So, yeah, I mean, that was, I lost a lot of money on that. And that really kind of pretty much rock bottom-ish at that point, as far as, tons of debt, creditors, lawyers, all that stuff.
Yeah.
While I'm, I literally just had my first baby with my wife. She was actually pregnant during the process, and she gave birth shortly after we opened. And so it was a lot of just stress in general. And on top of that, I had a new baby. So obviously I didn't quit my day job, which is another one of my rules in life and business is never quit your day job.
Oh, so
or at least keep your feet in, keep your licenses up, and just. Right. But I've always done anesthesia
in like a hospital setting,
a hospital surgery center.
Do you still
right. Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I do it full time, pretty much full time. I was doing anesthesia this morning.
Damn.
Along with my ketamine clinic, it's in the same building. So.
What's the most common thing you do in anesthesia? Is it like the thing for pregnant ladies where you do a epidural?
No, that's all. I'm all outpatient surgery center based now.
Oh.
So we do a lot of orthopedic surgery, anesthesia, spine surgery. We do cosmetic surgery. We do a little bit of everything.
Okay.
But a lot of pretty big stuff actually.
All right, two important questions about Haute Autos.
Yeah, Haute Auto.
Haute Auto.
Mm-hmm.
One, did you have like the most pimped out ride yourself?
Probably not the most, but
it had to be up there for marketing reasons,
it was decent.
Right?
Yeah, it was decent.
What'd you have? Tell us.
I had a Mercedes CL55, those cars with nice wheels and
all tints around.
Drop kit, tinted up.
You dropped the kit, so it was lower.
Dropped it, lowered it. And,
what did that do? You change the springs on it to lower it?
Actually, Mercedes knows that you could actually do it electronically through their system.
Back then, even?
Yeah, back then even. And then you would kind of just intercept their system and put something in there to kind of make it go lower, make it custom. Yeah, and then I had a Range Rover, of course, because that's what.
So did you pimp out both?
Yeah.
All right, and then which one would you say was more pimped out? That got more head turns?
Probably the Range Rover.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so tints all around.
It's a white Range Rover, 23-inch wheels,
23
TV screens,
and all like the headrests and
window
stuff.
tint. All that stuff.
How about the sound system? What did you have in there?
That also was an upgraded sound system. It was mostly Boston Acoustics and
could people hear you from like a mile away?
And Rockford Fosgate actually. No, not a mile away, but it was loud enough.
So my brother once had amps in his trunking and all that shit, and some wire got loose and it caught fire.
No way.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Did they explode?
I think it was just a fire, and I forgot what. I can't remember the rest of the story, but to jazz it up a little bit, I think he was just driving on the highway while it's on fire for a while.
It woke the neighbors up one last time, and one explosion.
That's amazing.
Well, what year was that?
So that was like 2004, 2006, around that. And that era is when that was open. Right. So what was interesting though is it really. So it had a negative consequence and a positive consequence, and the negative consequence was obviously that I got screwed and I got lost a lot of money, and the lawsuits dragged on for years because of bank loans, equipment leases. I mean, it's not like I was sitting around with millions of dollars in the bank to pay stuff off. So this all had to be dealt with attorneys and then settled and blah blah blah.
Did you have to personally declare bankruptcy?
I did not declare bankruptcy.
Were you thinking about it?
Of course.
And you ultimately did not?
Ultimately did not. No.
Okay. So teach us, dude. So to the extent you're willing to share, teach us like how much in loans, how much in equity did you have? And then how did you finagle it so you didn't have to do personal bankruptcy?
It was about $500,000 to $1 million, probably $1 million at the end of the day, pretty close to $1 million at the end of the day.
Both loan and equity?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So, and how much was the borrowing? Would you say most of it or smaller?
It was mostly borrowed, actually.
And a bank gave you money to do this shit?
Yeah, well, they based it on I mean, I had a good credit rating. I had a good income because I was an anesthesiologist, and you know, we had a good business plan, all this kind of stuff. And my partner had a good amount of inventory from his little shop that he had before. So you know, it all kind of, that's how we kind of figured out all that stuff.
I guess ahead of time, it did actually make sense for you guys to hook up.
It did. And you know, it's kind of hard to tell exactly where it failed because we were definitely busy enough, but I think it was the whole trend part of it, and the trend was climbing fast when we started, and probably towards the top when we opened, and then it kind of started declining a little bit. Yeah, because automakers started doing their own stuff. So you know. Back then, oh my God, you put a 20-inch wheel in a Range Rover, we're going to void your warranty, blah, blah, blah.
That shit,
and now, you know, I just picked up a new Range Rover yesterday, and it you know, 22s, I mean, it's just totally blacked out. And I need to do nothing to this truck. You know what I mean? So, I mean, normally I would do something to everything I get, but now it's like, I don't need to. It's perfect. So, you know, auto companies have caught on to that.
Got it.
And
all right. So $1 million is up riding on the line between equity and debt. And the banks, were they at least 500 that you owed the banks?
Yeah.
And then did you do a personal guarantee where you were on the hook?
I pretty much had to.
Okay, yeah, you pretty much had to. Yeah. All right, so then they come knocking and they're like, hey, we want our 500 grand.
Mm-hmm.
How did you, then you're like, I don't have the money, and they're like, oh, we're going to sue you.
Yeah. So, you know, you go through that whole thing. And that dragged on for a couple of years, and, you know, attorneys and this and that. And then you eventually come up with a settlement, and you try to pay it off. So I mean, I paid it all off. Paid it off a number of years ago, obviously. What was
the settlement that you guys were?
Oh, probably about half of that.
That's not bad.
No, I came out. I mean, yeah.
Lancey's got $250 under his fucking mattress right now.
Yeah. Oh, $1 $2 bill and a couple of quarters.
Yeah.
A 50-cent album.
But the positive thing of that, which is kind of hard, right? Which is kind of hard to even imagine, was that I was kind of, you know, like I said, down and out, and obviously getting pretty depressed and disappointed in myself, and just kind of doing the day-to-day grind. And it kind of inspired me, and actually my wife was part of this because she's amazingly supportive. It kind of encouraged. She actually said, you know, we got to, you know, get back on track. Why don't you, you know, do something that's in your lane, a.k.a. medicine.
Right.
So
she's saying, fine, keep your day job, and you want to be an entrepreneur? Well, be an entrepreneur. But why not in the world of medicine?
Stay in your lane. And so that kind of inspired me to start my own anesthesia company.
Okay.
Which is right around when I met you, actually.
2010, 2009.
By 2010, it had been going for like 2-3 years.
Okay.
As you remember, back in those days, that's all I was pretty much doing was I had my anesthesia group. So I ended up building an anesthesia group over the years.
And does this mean
which did okay?
Does this mean doing procedures that you'd normally do in an outpatient facility or in a hospital, but you're doing them on your own?
No. What this meant was that I actually started going around the city and getting anesthesia contracts with hospitals, and then I would hire anesthesiologists to work for me and nurse anesthetists, and we would like have the exclusive contracts with these hospitals, and we just kept on going for, you know, picking up more and more hospitals and surgery centers. And so eventually I had a workforce of about 15 or 17 people between MDs and nurse anesthetists. And so I did that until about, you know, 2014 or so. And then that kind of, it just kind of dwindled away because of the economics of Medicaid and all this stuff in Illinois.
Oh, really?
Because a lot of our hospitals were inner city hospitals, and it became kind of impractical to, you know, to do all that. So it just kind of phased out of it. That wasn't a huge financial loss or anything, but I guess I'm really fortunate in that I'm kind of like Seinfeld, I guess. You know, whenever something's going down, something else manages to creep up and kind of keep the fire burning.
Yo, man, I think that's
quote unquote. And a lot of that is it's a lot of it is faith, but a lot of it is also, again, just kind of positioning yourself and just keeping an eye out for opportunity. You know, I mean, you always, as an entrepreneur, you always have to think, no matter how fucking good you think you have it, you always got to think, what's going to be next, or will something be next? And I'm kind of like on this 2 to 3 year cycle now, where something now just kind of automatically pops up, and I undertake it, and it's usually does okay. Again, I'm staying in the same realm, just kind of diversifying what we do in my realm of anesthesia, pain, now the ketamine clinic. So it's all, everything's kind of a spin-off of something else.
Right.
But they're separate ventures.
Okay, cool. So the Haute Auto is just such a good story because
it is, man. I mean, my grand opening was freaking amazing. You'd think if my grand opening that I'd be, you know, multimillionaire.
Killing it.
I mean, our grand opening was at the end of the NBA Bulls 6-peat, you know, in 2000, 2004, 2005. So
Chicago the walls were shaking in Chicago.
I remember I had R. Kelly in one arm and Michael Jordan in the other, and I'm like this with these two guys in Chicago Magazine.
Man.
And
if you only knew.
And I have a picture of MJ in my Instagram from that night with my parents in my little auto showroom.
If you only knew 20 years later what both those guys were going to do.
Yeah. Well, R. Kelly especially. Michael Jordan's fine. But
I don't know, he's kind of been a little bit of a
he's
post NBA.
Yeah, you're right.
Easy, Amr. What's going on? Let's not do this.
How do I feel about MJ?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like he let me down. You know what I'm saying? He's my childhood hero.
What'd he do?
Just some of his post NBA stuff. Some of his the way he would communicate about other players and other people he worked with. I just felt like he was kind of really holding in a lot of bitterness and didn't really deal with it or address it. And it all came out kind of in a shitty way after.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did some of that. He was always...
Sounds like you know him, Bao. What do you think?
Well, you know, he was... I mean, I didn't really know him, but I definitely met him a few times. And, you know, he was always an interesting figure because he was always... kind of this holier than thou type of attitude, and even in my shop, you know, he comes there and he hangs out, and he's just like, "Wow, but I want this stuff for free."
No shit.
Yeah. So, which obviously we didn't do. But
how would he say that? Like,
he
hey,
would literally say, "I want the stuff for free." I mean, he's just like, "I don't want to pay." Michael Jordan,
like what? Rock for Fosgates or more rims or what?
Rag wheels and stuff for his cars, you know, whatever it was. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, but you know, you could.
And you held your ground.
Well, yeah, because
it feels weird.
It's not even if I do, you know, if I did outfit one of his cars, it's not like he's going to run around with my business sign on it or anything. It's not. He's not that kind of a guy. He's not going to, you know, cross promote for you or help you out. Other people would do that or tell their friends, but he just wouldn't. He's just not that kind of person.
Right.
But either way, it was amazing to have him there, and it was good publicity and all that stuff.
See, Lancey. That's the kind of guy MJ is. I didn't even have to hear that story, and I felt that on him.
I do think, though, that his public relations self, the one you were talking about, I mean, that's like a personal story, so I can't speak on that. But speak on the vibes you got from him directly. But as far as like the public persona, I feel like when he is such a thoroughbred winner, I feel like he is willing to take that step over into the dark side to become something so unbelievably competitive. You know, I mean, he punched out Steve Kerr during a practice.
Right. That's right.
You know, stuff like that where you're like, no normal human would do that. But when you see him with these last second shots, when he's really frothing at the mouth to get the ball, when most people are like, I don't know if I want the ball right now. And he's like, no, it doesn't matter what you want. I'm doing my thing.
Totally.
I think that in our society, we kind of have a mixed emotion about that because from a capitalistic point of view, you're like, yeah, that's the type of person we want at the helm.
Yes.
But from an emotional point of view, you're like,
doesn't feel right.
Yeah, this is not somebody I love.
Right.
You know, as a human or as his personality. You know. So I guess it's kind of the give and take of being the greatest. And I feel like a lot of times, you know, with all the celebrities that have come up with, you know, all the, you know, the Me Too thing and everything, all the celebrities that have came out, it seems like almost everybody has something where they're hiding, especially people who are world class at things. They're like, once you get into that, you're like, all right, but what are you hiding? Because it's almost like that fuels the...
It does. That dark shit fuels it.
Yeah.
You know who wasn't like that did a fantastic job in the world of business? Harvey Weinstein. I mean, can we not, you know...
Harvey Weinstein did not kill himself.
So I don't know if any of you watched the Kobe Memorial the other day on Monday,
No,
whatever
on
day it was.
Monday,
Monday, whatever it was.
I watched Jordan's speech. on it.
So Jordan's speech was pretty amazing, and that kind of brought to me a little bit more humanity back to him.
Oh yeah,
and respect back to him. Yeah, you really got to watch it.
I got to watch
because
it, okay.
I don't think I've ever seen Michael Jordan like that.
Okay,
Like emotional, touched, and like actually gave an amazing speech and like really spoke from his
really
heart.
did.
And like, I mean, he was streaming in tears, and it was really touching. And so that kind of
Humanized him a little
It
bit.
really did. It really did. It kind of brought me a little bit more like, oh wow, this man is not an android, unemotional,
right.
competitive freak.
But also, he's older now, and he's not
perspective.
every night elbowing the competition. And, you know,
No, age gives you perspective. There's no
Yeah.
doubt.
Age, but I think actually you're right. So it's age. I think is probably maybe. I think age is number 2. I think what you're saying is probably number 1, which is when you're in the grind,
right?
and the machine is milling you through, right?
You can't see the woods.
No,
You can't see it at that point.
It's so hard. It's so you need something special in your life to allow you to see that.
right.
You know.
I mean, it's kind of like Kobe too, right? In a way. I mean, you know, it was after his career where he just gave, and became this like, you know what I mean?
Right.
His he was ridiculously competitive, almost that Michael Jordan level of competitiveness. But I feel like after his career, he softened up, started just being a really good person, and you know, less competitive. Still very competitive, but more out there, kind of preaching his ways, Mamba mentality,
Right.
And I mean, just really some good points that he makes with his the way he speaks and what he encourages people to do, and you know,
I want to give a big shout out.
do what you love what you do. I mean, you know, those things are kind of those important things.
I want to give a big shout out to Michael Jordan. Finally got a tailor. He has not had a tailor since 1996.
I agree.
No.
Jeez, his tailor now, he's got a nice suit.
Are you for real?
Yeah. Watch the memorial, he's got a good suit. Like the cut of the suit is great. He's been wearing those huge Trump style suits.
I did see some of that shit.
Yeah.
How is it that someone? I guess it's what Baal was saying. It's almost like he didn't develop in his style mentality or
Right.
like ability to invest or pay, buy the things in life that are
Like cutting edge on the style, or
or not even cut it, but like, hey, you're a multimillionaire, highly successful, highly exposed figure. You need the accoutrements of life to match that, like a
Right.
tailor.
Yeah.
But it sounds like he was missing that accoutrement,
yeah.
It's like, wow, that's weird.
I was really happy to see it because I'm a Jordan fan.
Yeah.
But,
Don't get me wrong. I still go back and watch.
It's hard not to be.
Right, it's hard not to. Don't get me wrong, I go back and watch a lot of the things from my childhood.
Right.
I mean, I was in Chicago. Okay, I loved it.
Well, anytime I feel a cold coming on, I watch that flu game, and I'm like, I can do this.
I think it was against the Cavaliers, right?
I can't remember.
Or was it Utah Jazz? It was one of those two.
Was it? I think it was the
Game-
Jazz.
yeah.
It was in the finals.
Yeah, it was in the finals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy, right? The flu game. Yeah. Oh man. All right, boss. So, how with Jordan Haute Auto? He came over. Okay, so that was a marketing thing. All right. So, but in that experience, you saw the negative and going through all the pain and difficulty of the lawsuits, and then there was the positive that came out of it. Which was like pull yourself up by your bootstraps and do something new, maybe more in your own lane. So I got no question. I just wanted to summarize that. That's kind of cool.
Well, it's really cool, but you know what? Nothing phases me now.
Whereas before you get shaken more easily?
Because all these companies I've had over the years and everything I've done over the years, there's lawyers, and and I used to joke that I've been served more times than a Big Mac, and and literally it's crazy, but that's business and that's serial entrepreneurship.
Well, it's also anesthesiology, right? Isn't that a highly...
Yeah, not necessarily in my medical career. I haven't really had that happen, so much. But it can happen any day. Every minute of what I do is a risk, and there's always a chance for something to go bad. But that's what we're trained to prevent from happening.
You need a personal lawyer or something, brother. How many times you getting sued?
I have always. Well, no, it's not now. Now it's not so much. But you always have your little team of lawyers and leaders behind you.
What's been your biggest that's your biggest failure. What's been your biggest success? Is it this ketamine thing going on?
It hasn't happened yet, brother.
Oh, all right.
Snap.
Let's restate. Bro. Right, John?
That's good optimism, though.
Yeah, Bowles.
That's part
Excuse me, Michael fucking Jordan here.
No matter how good I think I have it, I always think I can be better and do better, and
for sure.
And so it never ends for me. And I honestly mean that it hasn't happened yet. I hope it hasn't.
I always say that
I've had a lot of success, but success can be defined in many ways, right? So, some people it's just purely how much fucking money do you make? Other people it's like, job satisfaction. Right. It's like lifestyle for some people. Yep. I mean, there's so many ways to look at it, right?
Travel, yeah. It changes. Yeah. Every person's different.
For me, it's just a combination of everything. And I think you have to be happy. You got to love what you do, which in my ketamine clinic, I love what I do. Okay.
Because my ketamine you want.
My ketamine clinic, yeah, that's right. Because my ketamine clinic
explains
is not.
Why he's so positive.
It's definitely not the most. It's a profitable business, but it's not like it's making me tons of money.
Right.
But it's the satisfaction and the joy that I receive from just watching these people transform. That's really the most rewarding thing. Yeah.
I'm noticing. So I'm getting back in the game a little bit. So when you talked about Kobe or MJ. In their later years, I am not to be compared to Kobe and MJ in any realm of the imagination whatsoever. However, working on Wall Street for a decade was really competitive, really, really competitive. Especially the industry I was in. I was basically doing sales for bonds, derivatives, all these sorts of financial products before, during, and after the financial crisis. So it was so much money going around, very competitive, and I felt like it was just nose to the grindstone for 10 straight years. And in my last few years, I just began to I was going through a divorce. I was at 27, 28, 29 years old going through a divorce. And I began to ask those harder questions of life of why am I here? What am I doing? Why do I feel like shit a lot? I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I'm always worried about my job, losing my job. I'm like, what is going on? And I was just pursuing money. And when I started to ask those really hard questions, I began to go a little bit deeper inside my own heart. And I found some good mentors and spiritual guides who kind of would help me see a bigger picture, which, like we were talking about earlier, it might be hard for MJ or Kobe in that, elbowing people every night on the court. It's really hard being so competitive. And so I found myself in a really small way becoming more like a giving person, a more generous person in those last few years of Wall Street. And finally, after I left, I was like, it's just not for me. And then I felt like I kind of went through almost like a reclaimed Amr Abdullah, I went through the reclamation project,
Mm-hmm.
As I'm getting back into comedy, getting married, having kids, and I'm like, oh shit, running out of money. So I'm getting back into the world of being competitive and making money in a different way than comedy, in the restaurant business here, which is also very competitive. And I can just feel it. It's palpable. Some of the energy I had on Wall Street, where I'm like, get the fuck out of my way, I'm a capitalist, is kind of coming back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, Amr, slow your roll, bro. You don't want to be a dick to this customer or to this employee. You don't want to make just money decisions. And it's really hard. I got to really reel that dude in because he's alive and kicking him.
But at the same time, you need some of that dude to come out. I mean, you do. I mean, you're right. It's a balance.
Right?
It's 100% balance. I mean, good cop, bad cop, whatever you want to call it. It's, you got to play both. Especially if you're the only guy.
Have you seen that balance? Have you evolved in that? Have you evolved where you were prior maybe way too focused, or have you always felt like you had a good balance and all that? Way too capitalistic?
I think I've gotten better over the years. I can play good cop and bad cop now pretty effectively. I can. I think I make better business decisions, but a lot again that's just experience, right?
Yeah. And you know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, this is what MJ wore. Speaking of wardrobe, my opening.
That's years ago.
That's that night of my opening.
That's
Haute Auto.
great.
My parents and my family, and Michael Jordan with 3 more turbans than he's probably ever stood next to in his life.
Let's show this to the camera. John, can you show this?
Yeah, 100%.
Is it on there?
Hold on. There we go.
Is it showing up?
Yeah, it's showing up.
It was cool. It was really kind of an amazing experience to have him there. Yeah. But
It went away.
Michael Jordan looks like he works at Boost Mobile. That picture.
Why?
I don't know, the orange shirt
Maybe.
kind of
That was-
reminds
that
me.
was-
It was 2004, right?
yeah.
Actually, that's not too long ago. I'm surprised he's wearing that
2004.
shirt.
That's what I wrote here.
I don't think he had a stylist back then either, or a tailor. Lancey, where would you say? Have you ever thought about this? Where are you like on the capitalist spectrum? Do you ever think about that?
Yeah, I do, because I feel like, I went through that phase where I was not waiting tables.
The last 6 months or so?
Yeah, or it was probably all in all a 3-month
okay.
span where I didn't have a day job and I was just doing comedy every night. And I think about that a lot within the comedy scene, because the artistic side of me never wants to turn down a show.
Right, me too.
Like, I'll do anything for the stage time, but also, there's some times where you can do a not so glamorous show and make more money, and then you could, or do a more glamorous show, obviously make less money, or you're just doing it for the. So I mean, and then the artistic side of me comes out where the artistic side doesn't want any money. The artistic side wants passion to come out, and but the problem is you kind of have to set the stage for that. You can't just go out and be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna do 1,000 open mics in a month. I'm getting more stage time than anybody in Chicago, but I'm not getting anywhere.
Right.
You have to let the ego kind of come out and be, and then capitalism and making money, making rent plays a.
Reality sets in quickly, right?
Right. If I told my landlord, but I did 100 open mics this month, I'm going to be a little behind on the rent. He's not going to give a damn.
Hell no.
So I mean, it's always playing in my mind, especially with the artistic side of me. I mean, I've never had a lot of money, but I think that's because I let the artistic side drive. I let that, where I'm like looking for the passion, because I think everybody in this room has probably had that moment in their life where they're like, I'm very passionate about this. This feeling is more important than anything else in the world.
Totally.
I mean, I guess it's love is what it is.
It's that emotion we were talking about earlier.
100%.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, whether it be in a relationship or with something you just love doing, you just get into the habit of, like, you might be washing dishes one night and be like, oh man, I'm really feeling this right now,
Totally. I've been there.
And it's like, why do I feel this way? How do I, like, I don't need money. I
love you, white porcelain bowl.
Yes. But, like, I guess it's kind of mood swings that you go through where it's like, oh yeah, well, I'm a decent comedian, I'm going to take the night off and work at the restaurant, or
spend time with my partner, wife, family, girlfriend, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. I go with that same calculation a lot.
Yeah. So, and I think the older you get, maybe some people are blessed to have that at a young age where you're like, I'm just going to do whatever I want and play by my own rules, like Bill Murray. But I think it takes, you have to be like 80 years old, or you have to be like, real old, and then you realize, oh, that's how you do it, and then you die.
On your deathbed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, talk to us about ketamine. So what is ketamine, first of all? I mean, when I hear it, I think of a pill.
Well, it does come in a pill. But so ketamine is actually a drug that was developed in the 1960s and FDA approved for human use as an anesthesia drug in 1970. So it's been around for 50 years. It's a very safe drug. It's obviously a psychedelic drug.
Oh, it is. What is it used for?
Cause what you call dissociation. In other words, you're kind of like in an out-of-body, dreamy type of a state, like you're floating or whatever.
Totally, you're in that state all the time,
when
aren't
you're
you?
Getting it. That's right.
What, disassociated or something? Yeah. I mean, right now.
And it was so.
Well, what did they use it for in 1970 when they approved it?
Anesthesia.
For what, like surgery?
Yep. Surgery and
Put you to
intensive
sleep?
care unit and all this stuff to put patients to sleep. Exactly. That's what it was initially used for.
Okay.
And then it was actually around the year 2000 when it was discovered at Yale Medical College that it had this magical ability to lift depression in really horribly depressed, sickly depressed people rapidly and in a high percentage of them during a study they were doing on something else where they're using ketamine. And then that's kind of what spurred all the research over the last dozen or so years on ketamine for depression and now PTSD, anxiety, all these other things. And it's been proven over and over again that it's like, 80% or so successful for treatment-resistant depression, which is the hardest depression to treat.
So it was being used a ton in surgery, in anesthesiology, to address pain and whatever. And then as part of a study, they're like, wait a minute, it also does this other thing that we didn't expect.
Yeah, because it works with a completely different receptor than all the Prozacs of the world and all those drugs. A completely different receptor than any of the drugs work with, and different neurotransmitter in the brain. So it's got a very unique profile, and that's, why it works for depression, I guess. And like I said, it's just remarkable. It's amazing.
How? So how does it do this? So when you administer to one of your patients who come in, are you doing it in pill form or
intravenous?
Intravenous. So they get an IV.
So they get an IV infusion, which lasts about 45 minutes long, and it's low dose ketamine. We call it sub-anesthetic dose. In other words, it's way lower than an anesthesia dose.
Almost microdosing.
Yeah, I mean, in the ketamine world, you might consider it microdosing, but it's definitely like maybe 5 or 7 or 8 times less than you would give for putting somebody to sleep. So it's a pretty low, and you're doing that slowly over like 45 minutes. So it's kind of dripping in slowly. It's not just like you're pushing it in with a syringe. So clearly you're not going to, get a really intense reaction out of it. But that's been shown to be really effective for treating depression. And it raises the levels of a neurotransmitter called glutamate in the brain, not serotonin.
Glutamate.
Yeah, not serotonin
that's
or all dopamine or all these other ones. It's glutamate.
Glutamate. And
it also, probably the most remarkable thing about ketamine though, is that it actually causes growth factors in our brain to be released, really potent growth factors. So it actually kind of repairs the brain.
Brain growth.
Brain and healthy brain growth. Like it's kind of repairing all the damage. This physical damage actually happens to your brain after years and years of depression and anxiety and all this stuff.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
It shrinks?
Certain areas lose function, your emotional areas and your mood areas, they kind of lose function. They have cell atrophy, dysfunction and all this kind of stuff. And so ketamine kind of like rewires your brain. It's kind of like a reboot. It's kind of like a reboot, a hard reboot of your brain.
Wow.
But it's also healthy for your brain. It's encouraging healthy nerve growth and stuff like this.
It's like holding the power down for 30 seconds or whatever.
Kind of. And that's why it lasts for, like after patients typically do, 6 treatments or so initially for depression over a few weeks. And sometimes those 6 treatments can last for months. And obviously the drug's way gone. It's disappeared from your body like within a couple of hours of the ketamine is gone.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
It has
ketamine clears your body.
half-life?
Ketamine clears your body really fast.
So
clearly something is happening.
It's releasing those growth factors probably.
Yeah,
all right.
So
someone after just 1 dose, 3 doses, 6 doses are better for months.
They can be, yeah. And people come back, for what we call boosters or maintenance treatments, and they come back anywhere from a month. Some people come monthly, other people come 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
Now, is there this world where it kind of gets weird, where it's like, I've just been on ketamine for the last 7 years. I get my dose every 3 months. Doesn't that feel like too reliant and crutch-like or addictive?
When nothing else has worked, absolutely, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah. Is there side effects? Is there side effects?
No. There's no significant long-term side effects.
No significant long-term.
No.
What about short-term?
Not really. I mean, short-term, which is just around the treatment, like with the day around the treatment, typically you can get a little nauseous, a little headache, blah, blah, blah. But most people don't get much of anything at all.
Wow.
Yeah. Most people are in and out and they're cruising and they're good to go. Within 2-3 hours after the treatment, they're back to their normal selves.
Okay. What is ketamine? Is it a something that occurs naturally in the world?
It's a synthetic drug.
A synthetic drug.
It's a synthetic drug that's actually derived from phenylcyclidine PCP.
Okay.
Which is angel dust.
Now you're talking my language.
Which is angel dust. So it's actually a chemical derivative of that or related to that drug. So which is why you get which is probably why you get psychedelic effects of this and that. And as you know, right now it's all over the press, but they're studying a lot of psychedelics for mental illness, like psilocybin, which is mushrooms, magic mushrooms.
Yep.
And all this stuff is coming down the pike now. These drugs are being discovered to be really effective for mental illness.
Right. Okay, man, I got so many questions. First of all, are you taking all this in, Lancey?
I think so.
Pretty interesting, right?
Yeah.
John?
Oh, yeah.
John's like, where the fuck do I? Can we try it on John? Do you have any in your trunk?
Sure, I got some in my pocket. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
That would rule, by the way.
I mean, pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, recreational ketamine is different from what we do.
Wait. So there
yeah.
is on the black market or whatever?
Oh, it's everywhere.
I'm sure, right?
It's called, actually, there's an acronym called CK, Calvin Klein.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Louis.
Which stands for Louis C.K.
It makes you do weird stuff.
Yeah, it makes you do weird stuff. Anyway, so CK is a mixture of cocaine and ketamine. CK. Calvin Klein. So it's typically, in the recreational world, it's typically a drug that's snorted along with other things or taken alone.
Yeah, that's the way I've seen it at parties.
Yeah.
People snort it.
Yeah.
CK?
Or just straight ketamine.
Just ketamine.
Or just straight ketamine.
That's the only time I've ever seen it. One time.
Yeah.
You were sitting there and I seen somebody snorted some ketamine?
Yeah, and I
Did you feel like you were in a Tony Montana movie like Al Pacino?
Yeah.
Kinda,
You should have seen these people. They weren't that glamorous.
they weren't that cool.
0 white suits in there.
Yeah.
It was like, dude, the square root of 81 is 9. God damn it! Give me that calculator.
Yeah. But in those situations with that kind of nasal absorption and stuff like that, you're just not getting in the brain in concentrations that required to treat. You might get transient relief of depression or something like that, but you're not going to get these constant changes that ketamine does, like the growth factors and stuff like this. So it's really not therapeutic to do it recreationally for depression. You're probably going to cause more problems than nothing else.
Oh shit!
And it's probably a higher risk of addiction and issues like that too.
Oh really? Because it's uncontrolled, I guess, right?
It's a controlled substance.
No, but I mean, like it's being taken in uncontrolled circumstances.
Yeah.
Like, you want a doctor kind of overseeing.
Oh,
it, right?
100%. I mean, ketamine on the street is God knows what it is. It's usually mixed with something, or you never know what you're getting out there. So that's all it really comes down to. But there's like a huge, like in Asia and Hong Kong and China and those countries, it's a big drug of abuse. It's a big problem.
No shit.
Yeah, that's where.
All right. What about like people who? So okay, what do you think about like marijuana or mushrooms, these other psychedelics? If people, partake in those in smaller doses regularly to try and treat themselves?
Well, so marijuana is obviously an interesting subject, right? I mean, just legalized in Illinois recreationally. It's been legal here medically for a couple of years. Marijuana has a lot of good uses. People use it for sleep. People use it for anxiety. People use it for chronic pain. And people just use it to get high. So it's a good drug, and obviously we consider it safe enough to be used recreationally now. I don't think marijuana is, it's not really a good drug for depression because it's kind of a depressant in itself, but it can definitely help with anxiety, and it can help people who have issues with sleep, and it can help people with certain kinds of pain. Okay. So it definitely has a role out there. Psilocybin, same thing.
What's psilocybin?
Mushrooms,
Okay.
magic mushrooms. That's been studied at Johns Hopkins now for the treatment of depression and some PTSD and stuff like this. But it's working along those same realms as ketamine, kind of dissociation and different neurotransmitter systems in the brain. And it's, preliminary studies show it's quite effective. So hopefully we'll be offering that in our years, up down the road when it becomes legalized.
Legal.
Because the difference between ketamine and psilocybin is an illegal drug. Ketamine is not an illegal drug. It's actually available in medical grade for me as an anesthesiologist. So
Do they both work on glutamate?
yes.
They do.
Yes.
So ketamine's the closest thing to
modulate with glutamate. Yeah.
mushrooms.
Psilocybin's a little more complex than that, but yeah, it does. Yeah, it's similar. It's more of a psychedelic type of a trip, like a little more visual with psilocybin than ketamine. But people with ketamine describe all kinds of things to me, when they're in there.
Oh, really?
In their head. Yeah.
I'm seeing God ball.
Oh, people say they saw God, 100%.
God ball? Did you say God
God ball.
Which is how he liked himself to be described.
Yeah.
Ketamine God.
Yeah, ketamine God. But yeah, people say that. They say they were flying. They say they were swimming with the fishes. It's usually describe a beautiful experience for the most part, or a strange experience.
Oh, yeah?
But it's rarely negative.
Is that right?
It's rarely negative. It's usually a positive experience.
So interesting.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
All right, so there's my marijuana question, my mushrooms question.
Real quick, can I ask, do you know anything about ginkgo?
I know a little bit about
Ginkgo,
ginkgo.
like the Chinese, Japanese, some Far East.
For what, Lance?
Memory, right?
Let's see.
I take it on a daily basis, and like when I write, I feel like it might be strictly placebo, and if it is, great.
Yeah.
But I feel like it helps me. I feel like it helps me write. I feel like I have like more epiphanies with things.
Interesting.
That seem to last. You know, sometimes when you drink a lot of caffeine, you'll be like, oh yeah, this is great, and then you know, an hour later, you're like, what was I thinking? This is all. There was nothing here. With ginkgo. I feel like when I do take this, I take it daily. I feel like I do have those epiphanies that usually result in a pretty decent joke or something. You know, something
Interesting.
Yeah.
Have you ever looked at ginkgo?
I have not, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know it's been around for thousands of years.
sure.
So,
Thousands of years. Yeah.
so I didn't know. Do you know what receptor that works on?
I'm not 100% sure actually on ginkgo. What we're seeing right now is kind of like a revolution in a lot of medical fields, but particularly in psychiatry and pain management and all this kind of stuff is kind of what we call the repurposing of drugs. So we're seeing drugs that have been around for dozens and dozens or decades and decades and decades. All of a sudden they become full circle and now they're like the treatment for something. Like ketamine. Even when I was a resident at U of C, you know, we kind of don't use ketamine unless you have to. It causes you to be high and delirium and all this stuff. And so it causes your blood pressure to go up. So it's not a safe drug unless it's an emergency type of a situation, right? So that's kind of what we were taught.
Changing.
And now it's just flowing. It's even in the hospitals, it's being used more for chronic pain. It's being used more, obviously, for mental illness. It's being used a ton. And marijuana has obviously come full circle. You know, you used to go to prison for life for having quarter of an ounce in your possession. And they still are in prison. And now here we are.
It's legal.
Walk into a store and buy all you want and do what you want. So, I mean, it's really interesting how a lot of things have come full circle in medicine. And the shameful, the sad thing about ketamine is that it's a generic drug because it's been around for 50 years. So IV ketamine is not for depression, and all that I treat is not covered by insurance. And that's because in order for that to happen, we have to go through the bureaucracy of pharmaceutical companies and well over $100 million, maybe a couple $100 million just to get a drug through FDA trials and that whole FDA process to get approved. Right. And then the drug's still going to cost $5 a vial. So no pharmaceutical company has any financial incentive to do that. Right. Because, you know, multiple manufacturers make ketamine because it's generic. So you know, that does limit people's access. You know, we work to try to help as many people as we can, and we give discounts. We try to treat veterans, treat veterans for, you know, really, really low price, and whoever we can. But at the end of the day, it's, you know, it's still a barrier to a lot of people.
Yeah, you got to pay. You got to pay for your bills.
You got to pay.
Okay, so if I walk off the street, hey, I heard about ketamine. I wanna help myself. Number one, my insurance is not going to cover it. Number two, tell me what you're just walk off the street. What do you charge?
Well, so, you know, we screen you carefully. We, you know, ideally, you know, you should have some kind of psychiatrist or somebody taking care of you if it's for mental illness or depression. And, you know, we make sure you're actually a candidate for ketamine first.
Oh, okay. So
it's not just a walk off the street and just start doing it. It takes a few days to get people ready and make sure that it's, you know, they're actually have a real diagnosis and make sure that ketamine's the right choice for them, you know. And then it's about $500 a treatment for that first 6 treatments. And then the booster maintenance treatments are a little bit less.
So for 6 treatments, it's $3,000. I'm seeing results right away.
You're seeing results possibly after one or 2. But you need to do the 6 to make those terms long lasting.
And the way to think about it is it's kind of an investment in your own health.
Well, so just last year or 2 years ago, the World Health Organization made a statement that depression was the number one cause of lost productivity and income and missed work days in the work environment globally. Okay. Billions and billions and billions of dollars are lost just because of depression. And a lot of our patients, they're not even working. So, you know, I've had a lot of patients who, like, within a month or two, they're back to work after being off for a year or two. So that productivity and getting back into the workforce and becoming a productive member of society is that's a return on investment like almost instantly, right? I mean, not everybody looks at it that way. I wish they would, but I treat a lot of teens and adolescents who dropped out of school, you know, after the winter semester, and I tell you, some of them, some of them, well, no, just because they had depression or anxiety when they were in high school, and then when they went to their freshman year of college, they just got crushed by all the pressures, the independence,
first quarter,
just
semester,
everything, right? I mean, social pressures, college. I mean, you can imagine, and a lot of those kids, I mean, they could have gone back to school back in January after their ketamine treatments, but obviously it's hard you can't just drop out for 2 weeks. You have to drop out for a year, right, and restart in the fall. Yeah. But most of them go back. So
a part of me is,
and I don't think medications would ever do that. Pills would never do that for these kids because they're a mess. Yeah, no doubt about it.
A part of me is like, wow, this is amazing. Like, what a amazing solution to some of the really difficult depression symptoms or difficult depression symptoms. And another part of me is like, yo, it is okay for American companies to not give any vacation time. Like that's like in Europe, it's a law. You have to give 4 weeks paid vacation, I believe. Here, that's not true in America. And we work each other. We work people work to the bone. They all get overworked, and they're doing all this crazy. Our life is just fucking crazy. It seems to me, and that is like the real problem. It seems to me of our society, especially in the West, especially in America. And I just feel like this is all solvable in other ways, whether it's, our society changing or a person trying to find a way to put some boundaries around themselves so they don't get kind of swept up in fucking crazy culture, social pressures, everything you were talking about. So I'm of two minds of like, why are we like, not devolving, but like, why are we settling? Why are we settling for like, okay, fine, I guess I'm just gonna have to be on ketamine for a big chunk of my life in order to, help myself get out of this thing that almost like society has sucked me into. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm of two minds of that, and I guess the reality is if I'm looking at, God forbid, my daughter, my son, or myself, and I'm in that situation, I'm fucking desperate, and I'm really heavily depressed, and I can't get to work, and this and that. I'm probably gonna knock on your doorbell and be like, "Can you help me, man?"
And that's probably that's probably not a bad idea. I mean, most people come to us have tried their run-of-the-mill drugs. They've tried them all, and a lot of their psychiatrists have just said, "I can't do anything else but try another drug." And that's literally what most psychiatrists, those are the tools they have. We always want patients to have therapy. We encourage therapy. That's an important part of the process. But ketamine kind of accelerates that. It's kind of like therapy on steroids in a way. So it's kind of cool because it really does open people's mind. A lot of people will say when they're coming out of their infusion, they're like, wow, that was like, life-changing what I just experienced in my head. Right. I saw things, I passed flash in front of me, and I was making peace with this and that. Wow. And it can be very spiritual. It can be a very spiritual experience for a lot of people. And that's part of the therapeutic process. It's not everything that ketamine does, but it is part of it. The dissociation is actually, in my view, integral to their healing. We want them to have dissociation and be out there. It's important.
When you say out there, you mean almost like spiritually?
Spiritually, they're
out of their body.
Out of their body. They're in a dream. They're just experiencing whatever they're experiencing. I mean, our rooms we have private rooms. They're dark. We have a mood light. We have music. They bring their headphones. We have weighted blankets. They're in recliners. They have eye masks. I mean, it's like a production because you want them to just go for that 45 minutes.
I had another question, but it slipped my mind. I'm just fascinated by all this, and thinking about it. Oh, I know. Have you heard of Cymbalta?
Yeah.
Okay, so 8-9 years ago when I was going through my divorce and I was in the middle of the financial crisis, like both were kind of hitting me at the same time. And I was like, I'm probably gonna lose my job, probably gonna lose my family. I'm going through divorce. It sucks. I was having major back pain. Major back. I mean, I was sitting in front of 4 computer screens hunched over for like 7 years straight. It just wasn't healthy. And I And I wake up every day and I start to pray, start to meditate more, try and find God more, you know, connect with myself at a deeper level. And every day for like months, I felt like I was just getting worse and more unhappy, having more negative thoughts. I don't know if they were suicidal. I bet they were at times as I look back, but it just wasn't good. I was not in a good place. And so I went to my doctor. I'm like, yo, help me. I'm desperate. Just help me, please. And he's like, well, you're having back pain. This medicine, Cymbalta, is specifically to help you with back pain. In addition, it has a side effect of lifting depression and anxiety.
It could be an antidepressant too. Yes.
Could be an antidepressant.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, why don't you try this? Here's 3 months supply. I'm like, I don't know, doc. I'm always against these antidepressants. I'm always, you know, this is 10 years ago. So, it was, you know, the shame around that was even more.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took it home and I looked at it and I walked into my foyer, right where my front door is, opened the closet. I put them right where my coat closet is, right when you walk out the door. I put them right up there for me to see every single day. I'm like, all right. In 3 months, if I don't say, wow, I felt better for many days straight. If I don't say that, if I don't say I'm better than I was 3 months ago, I'm just going to start taking these, you know? Mm-hmm. And so that began 90 days of just really like, you know, I changed my workout to be more intense. I remember I jumped into like P90X or something. I began to search more for like a spiritual guide, someone to kind of hold my hand and walk me through what I felt like was, I kind of needed to have some kind of an out of body experience, if you will. Who can show me meditation, show me, we pray as Muslims 5 times a day. I'm like, well, if we're praying 5 times a day, this should have an impact on me. Maybe I'm not praying the right way. Maybe someone knows how to breathe more life into my prayer. And I found someone like that. And then I started getting with a group of people who are more like that as well. Fellow Muslim friends, even some non-Muslim friends who are Buddhists and other faiths. Mm-hmm. You were one of those people, Bob.
Yeah, no, I remember. That's around the time we were hanging out.
That's right, 2010, yeah, 2011.
Exactly, I know that.
I should have just been talking to you about this shit back then. What the hell's wrong with me? And so I go through that whole process over those 90 days. Like I was doing it beforehand for a year or two, but then I really, buckled down for 90 days. And at the end of those 90 days, I felt a lot better.
Yeah.
A lot better. And so I'm not here to like toot my own horn like, oh, I did it without any drugs. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying like I was there, that I needed to take them.
Well, that's how strong Cymbalta is that you didn't even take it.
I just had to walk by it every day on my way out.
Drug. So what you had was situational depression, okay, which is depression that's obviously caused by events or circumstances in your life event, right. Family, whatever. And typically those things will iron out and you get through them. And, whether it was, and definitely a lot of it had to do with the way you changed your practices and what you did. A lot of it is just the passage of time. Okay. You're probably in a better position 3 months later. The people we tend to treat are people this has been going on for 20, 30 years.
Oh.
And their depression is rooted in God knows what. Could be something from their childhood. Could be just nothing. It just happened. It's organic, genetically caused depression. And in those situations, you're just not going to be able to say, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to start eating better. I'm going to start taking this. I'm going to start praying. I'm going to start meditating, and I'm going to get through this. It's typically not like that for those people. So it really kind of depends on, and that's why we have to dig deep. When I see my patients, I have to dig deep into their past, into their histories. Mm-hmm. It was an identifiable cause. We do a lot of, I treat a lot of sexual abuse survivors with PTSD, you name it. I've heard it all. I've heard some of those horrible things. I've heard some of those horrible stories you could ever imagine. That was the first thing I thought of.
God forbid, some sort of traumatic childhood experience that a child may not even remember, or like it happened, but they've blocked it out in a way. And it's like,
but that's the root cause of it. Yeah. Even if it's blocked out and they don't remember, if you dig deep enough, you can typically find something. It's sad.
Serial entrepreneur, Dr. Bal Nandra. Yo, man, you schooled us, brother. Both on Haute Auto, but also hot ketamine.
Hot ketamine. Maybe I should name my clinic Hot Ketamine.
Hot. H-A-W-T ketamine.
H-A-W-T hot. Well, it's been great, dude. Thank you for coming down to Hyde Park and Cedars.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Cedars is the place.
That's right, baby. So give us a website again.
www.ketaminechicago.com, KETAMINE Chicago.com.
Boom.
And our number is 844-944-6337.
6337 said with real confidence.
I think. I'm pretty sure that's it. We're located right in River North downtown.
River North downtown.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Nancy Joe.
Yeah. Chicago Joe's.
Every Thursday and Friday, 8 p.m.
Yes, Chicago Joe's, Annoyance Theater.
Saturday.
Support these places. They're great places anyways.
Yeah.
Whether I'm there doing comedy or not, go
Amen
by
to
these
that.
places and support some local businesses. And also just follow me on all the social media, which is at Lancy Joe.
Lancy Joe.
LANCEYJOE.
Yeah, baby.
Got it.
JD, we did another one, baby.
Yep, another one in the books.
In the books. All right, guys. Well,
Yep.
goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.